Hello, Miss Neville Science students. We're going to go ahead and do our recorded lesson today about organisms growing and developing. You'll remember that this is the third of 4 characteristics that we're going to learn about that all organisms or living things should be able to exhibit/show. So before we get started, I wanted us to look at a reminder about sexual reproduction. We want to remember that a lot of you in your answers are telling me that it requires 2 parents. That's true, but also I want you to speak about the characteristics of the offspring or child. We want to remember that with sexual reproduction, the child will have similar traits to her parents, not the same traits. Yes, the offspring of sexual reproduction will not be identical to the parent like it would in asexual reproduction. So, as we go on in our lesson today, we're learning about our third characteristic of an organism. And let's start by looking at the objective for today. Your learning objective for today, you should be able to construct an explanation that illustrates how organisms grow and develop throughout their life cycles. So, organisms grow. In your notes, let's write down that question there. What does it mean for an organism to grow? It means to become larger. Don't we see 2 examples here of 2 humans who, as they become older, they grow taller. Yes, they grow taller. And that's what growth means. Growth means to become larger and to become, to have more weight, okay, to get a little bit more chunky. That's what growth is discussing. Feel free to draw your own picture of an organism growing. You don't have to draw as detailed pictures as Ms. Neville has provided here. When an organism develops, that means that the organism is becoming more structurally complex. What do I mean by that? That means that they're going to gain more body parts. When I'm developing, I gain more body parts. Those body parts are going to be really important. 1, for me to continue to live, to survive, and 2, to be able to give life and create offspring sexually or asexually. I gave you 3 examples here. You'll need to draw 2 of these examples in your notes. Your notes are also already in your blue folder in Schoology. It should say organisms can grow and develop. So when we look here at our left, we see a picture of a caterpillar. And we see how that caterpillar develops into a butterfly. Do you notice the new body parts that the butterfly has that the caterpillar didn't have? Do you realize here when we're looking, do we realize that there are things that are happening inside of this egg where there are certain body parts that aren't there yet? As that caterpillar grows and develops, it will have the body parts it needs to find food, to reproduce, to respond to stimuli. So this helps that caterpillar and later on butterfly be able to survive. When we look here at the example of a plant, it's important for us to realize that plants, which are organisms or living things, grow and develop as well. So when we're looking here at this tomato plant, we see the seed, okay? Then what do you notice growing here? Leaves. Below the ground, we'll find roots, a stem. Yeah, all of these are important to helping the plant continue to live and grow and later on reproduce. We'll see the body parts become more developed, more strong to help the young adult plant grow and continue to make its own food. That flower will now develop here, another body part. And we're going to learn later on when we study plants that the flower is the site of pollination or sexual reproduction. Okay, so we see how the body parts here continue to develop, to grow. There's more body parts that are being added to the body here, and that helps the organism to continue to grow. We see this in the tadpole example as well. Notice how the tadpole is missing some body parts. Those body parts start to change. We now see webbed feet that the tadpole didn't necessarily have. Those webbed feet become stronger, and the fingers, the appendages become bigger and more stretched out. All of these things help that frog to continue to survive and be more safe and be able to live in its environment. So it's important for us to not only know what growth is, what development is, we need to be able to understand the difference between the two. So let's do that together. In your notes, let's please draw a model that we often use to compare and contrast, the Venn diagram. When we look at a Venn diagram, remember in the middle, we show the similarities here. Then on the left side of our Venn diagram, we're going to write down the characteristics or examples of organisms growing. And on the right side, the characteristics or examples of organisms developing. So when we look at our first example here, and you'll want to make sure you write these in your Venn diagram, the perfect thing about a recorded lesson is that you're able to pause Miss Neville if you need to, or rewind me so that you can hear something again and get more clarification on it. So a great example of development is the leaves of a bean plant develop, or there's more leaves that are added to the plant of the bean. We're going to learn when we study plants, that's super important because the leaves are the site of photosynthesis. Yes, where the plant makes its own food. We're going to see that in this example, my nephew, baby Bryson, grows taller every day. He's getting longer. He's getting larger. This is an example of growth. This is not an example of development. A baby weighing 6 pounds when he's born weighs 16 pounds 14 months later. Yeah, that's an example as he gains more weight. That's also an example of growth. That is not an example of development. And then our last example here, a baby's teeth begin to form and cut through her gums. Yes, that's development. More body parts are being added. And you can answer this for me because you probably did it a couple of minutes ago or you're doing it now. Why are teeth important? Well, don't they help us to eat? And as we get all older, as children, our teeth fall out, our baby teeth fall out, and more adult teeth, stronger, bigger teeth are developed. So it's important that teeth develop, that's not growth, develop to help the organism remain strong. Now, some similarities between growth and development would include both of them are required for an organism to survive. Both growth and development are required for an organism to survive. And we realize that growth and development occurs or happens as the organism ages. So the older we become, growth and development will both happen, but they're not the same thing. I hope you're working on your graded assignment. Feel free to email Miss Neville if you have any questions. I look forward to seeing all of you in class today. Bye-bye.